This is Worth the Journey, a Worthington Schools podcast. My name is Angie Adrian.
And I am Jeff Maddox. Together, Ange and I serve as assistant superintendents and also the host of this podcast. And Ange, believe it or not, we're heading into our third year and people are actually listening.
Thankfully, it's not really about us. It's about the amazing people that we get to interview.
Worthington is home to about 11,000 students and 1,400 staff members. But what makes this place so special is the relationships, the culture, and the sense of community we share.
We celebrate the journeys of the people who make Worthington Schools such a great place to work and grow.
So whether you're a student, staff member, parent, alum, or just curious about Worthington Schools, we're glad you're joining us.
Good morning, Jeff. It's good to be with you this morning. I am super excited about our guest this morning. I mean, I'm excited about every guest that we get to have on here.
No, this is going to be a fun one.
Like, we have a conversation before the conversation. Yep. We ask them to kind of fill out a survey, and so we have some background information, although we do get to work alongside our guest. So,
right. And you and I have capitalized on some things that she has brought in the past, and
we have.
It might have added a few pounds in my life that I'm trying to shed.
But our guest today has really come full circle in Worthington Schools, starting as a student, and now after, she'll tell us, I'm not sure how many years, she's been an educator, a teacher, and an administrator, a school administrator, and now we get to talk to our Director of Secondary Education. Welcome, Emilie Greenwald. It's good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We also know, Jeff, that Emilie, because they're sitting on a table in front of us right now. Our audience can't see that, but there are 3 very large size pieces of what appears to be a brownie.
That thing's pretty impressive.
Filled with caramel filling. I don't know. Are there nuts in there? Might be some nuts in there.
Pecans. So I'd call them knockout brownies, but they're kind of an homage to the brownies that you can get at Dorothy Lane Market, which is in Oakwood or Dayton, Ohio.
Great place.
And I went to the University of Dayton, and we'd periodically make a little pilgrimage there. And so I love those brownies. When I go to Dayton, which I do periodically, I go there and get them. But these are out of my kitchen. So
Dorothy Market is a great place. Thank you, Emilie.
Yeah, Dorothy Lane.
Jeff, have you ever been to Dorothy Lane?
I've never been to Dorothy Lane. Matter of fact, I've never even heard of Dorothy Lane. And now I'm kind of listening to you talk, wondering how have I never heard of Dorothy Lane?
Good weekend getaway. Yeah.
Especially when there's an homage to brownies.
That's right. Well, Emilie, thanks so much for being here. You have had quite a career path from teaching math to leading schools, both in this district and outside of this district, and now serving Worthington Schools as the Director of Secondary Education, where you get to work really closely with all of our building principals and assistant principals. So tell us a little bit about your work and certainly your family.
Sure. So I went to the University of Dayton. I should back up. I went to Worthington Schools. I'm a K-12 graduate. I went to Brookside, K through 12 or K through 6.
Go Bobcats.
Yeah, so I was a Brookside Bobcat. I was a Perry Patriot, grades 7 and 8. I went to Old Kilbourne, which is now Kilbourne Middle, when it was a 9th grade building. I went to Worthington High School as a 10th grader. The last year it was open as a single high school. And then my junior year, I was lucky enough to be one of the first students to walk into Worthington Kilbourne High School when it was brand new. So that was the fall of 91. And then I graduated in 93 from high school. So went to college, went to the University of Dayton. And then when I graduated from college, I started teaching. So that was 1997. I taught for a year at Jonathan Alder High School in Plain City, Ohio. And then I came back to Worthington, which was great. And I taught at Worthington Kilbourne High School for several years. I had the opportunity then, I had finished my administrative degree. I had the opportunity to go to a small private school and be the head of their middle school and teach math. And so I did that for a few years. I joke that we did such a bang-up job in the middle school that they closed the middle school. So after that, I was lucky enough again to come back to Worthington, this time at Linworth. And so I taught at the Linworth, now experiential program, but really, really great teaching experience for me and eye-opening to see, how different schools work. And then I was, again, looking for administrative jobs and got a job at Upper Arlington. And so I worked there for 11 years in the high school as an assistant principal and the principal, and then at their district office. And then there was an opening in Worthington, and I wanted to come home. And so I know, it was awesome. So I was lucky enough to get a job working at Thomas Worthington High School as an assistant principal, and I did that for 6 years. And then I've been in this role. This is now my 3rd year as the director of secondary education.
It's pretty cool that you got to be a part of Worthington Kilbourne High School when it was originally built,
Yes.
right? And now we are renovating that, and
Right.
a large percentage of that high school is new, and you get to be a part of leading that. So
Yeah.
you obviously have seen some changes in that.
It
and
was
we'll
really neat to be a student when we opened the doors for the first time, and to walk into that building, in the fall of 91, schools all kind of looked the same, and Worthington Kilbourne really, I think, turned the tide on what schools looked like. When you looked at the schools prior to that, how they looked and how they felt, it was just eye-opening, and such a beautiful building, and it still is. And we're almost in the reverse now.
Yeah.
When they built Kilbourne, they renovated Thomas Worthington. Now they're rebuilding Thomas Worthington and renovating Kilbourne. So it's pretty exciting to see the updates and how beautiful that building still is.
That building is amazing. And those who are listening and get the opportunity to get into the new space when it's renovated, it's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
It's an incredible space.
Yeah, both buildings really are.
You had mentioned going to the 9th grade building.
Old Kilbourne as a
I
ninth
love
grader.
talking to people who went to
I
that
know.
9th grade building. And people oftentimes don't even realize it was a 9th grade building. But I absolutely loved my time
I
as a
did too.
freshman all together. Think about this concept. You had 650 freshmen under one roof. An incredible way to build a class and a
Right.
culture, but it had to be incredibly hard for the adults in that space.
It was crazy. And when
It
you
had to have been.
when you think about it, so the way it worked, we were on 7 bells a day, 7 hours, 7 classes a day. It was a much different schedule. School started at 8 in the morning. Every class was 54 minutes, and you had 6 minutes between. But you also had campus or main campus classes. So there were times when you would have to leave class at quarter till, whatever, 45, to get to main campus. And you'd walk down, or they had a shuttle bus, and you'd go to the high school, to Worthington, for who knows what class, band or math or whatever. And then you'd do the same thing there. You'd leave 15 minutes early and walk back or shuttle back. I mean, it was just such a different time,
Very
but
different.
really cool, like very
Great
fun.
memories, great stories came out of
Exactly.
that singular year, but again, had to be really hard for the adults. Talk with us about your current role and the team of people you get to work with.
Well, I'm really lucky. I work with our secondary administrators, so principals, athletic directors, assistant principals. If you don't know Worthington, we have 2 comprehensive high schools. We have 2 alternative high schools. We have 4 6 through 8 middle schools, and we have an alternative middle school. So really interesting array of options for our kids, and a really great team of administrators that I get to work with. I'm really, really fortunate. A large part of what we've been working on over the past year is really helping students with their post-high school planning and focusing on college and career readiness. And so a lot of times I think we think, kids graduate and they automatically know what they want to do, or we think that they have these plans and we work to get them there. But part of what we're looking at really 6-12 is making students aware of the different options that are available to them. And so trying to build that career awareness. Our middle schools have done a great job. Our principals there have done a great job of helping, and our school counselors. So, for example, last year, all of our 8th graders had the opportunity to visit Delaware Area Career Center and really focus on different options that are available there. And it might sound strange to talk about that in 8th grade, but prior to getting into high school, we want to make sure that our kids recognize the options that are available to them so that they can plan their high school career appropriately. We started in our high schools last spring using what's called U Science, and it's an interest and aptitude inventory. So we had freshmen and sophomores take that U Science test. And that is also, again, to help us recognize things that kids are either really good at or what they're interested in so that we can work with them and help provide guidance in the things that they want to do. And the other thing we've been really focused on is taking a look at different options for kids that will help them earn what we call industry-recognized credentials. So looking at pre-apprenticeships, giving them opportunities to get outside of the school and start focusing on some career paths even while they're in high school so that they're earning credit but also having a leg up when they get out. So we have students who participate in those opportunities through Worthington Industries or Worthington Steel and Worthington Enterprises, I guess is what it's now called, through independent electrical contractors, through Drive Direct, Performance Columbus. So we've built some different opportunities for kids to get outside of our schools. And our principals have been really instrumental in helping shape those different things, looking at the things that our kids need, working with their school counselors, and really helping focus that work so that we can help every kid when they leave us after high school.
What I appreciate about that answer is all of the awesome things, and she probably just touched the beginning of it. And at the same time, she's managing a lot of construction too, and working with principals to help them navigate that. But the focus is still about students and growth and how can we improve their experience, which is awesome.
Sure. I think particularly, obviously, at our high schools, they've been really, really focused on construction because they have to be. And so that is a big part of some of the work that our principals and assistants are doing, but they're still highly focused on what is best for our kids and working with our kids. And it's my hope that I can help support their work so that I can lighten the load so that they can focus on things.
Done a nice job with that.
Emilie, you mentioned Worthington Steel and Worthington Enterprises, and we had a chance to attend some of those graduations per se with students and families, and just pretty cool to be sitting there with families and seeing their child participate in something like that, and all of a sudden they know what they want to do, right? They want to stay connected with Worthington Steel or Enterprises and work there full time. And if they choose to go back to college, oftentimes those companies will pay for students to go back. So we appreciate that partnership with those places. Tell the audience a little bit more, though, about the other companies that we work with. So
Sure.
Put some shout outs there to those companies that partner with Worthington Schools.
Yeah, so we work with IEC. That was a new pre-apprenticeship that we built last year. That's independent electrical contractors. And they are looking for people who would like to be electricians. And there's a need for that. And I think there are kids that maybe didn't know that was something they would be good at. And so we really worked with our school counselors to help identify kids that might have that interest. And IEC was amazing. They put together last spring a 16-week pre-apprenticeship. And students who completed that actually, when they finished, have that pre-apprenticeship certificate, but then had admission into the actual apprenticeship. It took care of the first part of that. It also fulfilled several graduation requirements. And so it was a really, really great opportunity for our kids. The company was wonderful to work with. And we had only one student last year who participated, but our counselors have already identified several kids who'd like to do that this year. So that was really great. Performance Columbus is the other, Drive Direct. That's an automotive industry pre-apprenticeship, and it's the same type of thing. Students get in there and start to work. And I attended the graduation ceremony last year. I believe we had 7 students who completed that. And each one of them was given the opportunity to get up and speak. And the instructors also spoke about each kid, which was really cool. And to listen to the instructors who had worked with them for an entire year talk about how much they'd grown, how much they'd learned, and then to have the kids talk about how much they appreciated the opportunity because they didn't even know this existed and they can't wait to start work. It was such a great experience for me as an educator to see that we have kids taking advantage of this. And it's obviously a really important thing for our kids. And so now we had 7 students who completed that program who can go into the automotive industry. They'll continue their education, so they're not completely done, but they can go in and begin some work and be paid for that, and graduate high school knowing what they want to do. And to your point, what they want to do right now.
Sure.
They could continue their education.
That's right. Yep.
They may choose a different path, but at least initially they had a place to go and a place to work.
Right. And the majority of our graduating seniors do attend a 4-year school.
Right.
And we also have students who that may not be in their future right away. So we have a great partnership with Columbus State.
We do.
And just recently, our leadership team had an opportunity to have our retreat there. And we had several of their offices and departments come in and speak to our team about opportunities for students. And you've connected with them beyond that.
Right.
And they're now coming into our middle schools, correct?
Right. So that was such a great opportunity for us as a leadership team. And even though I work some with Columbus State, I don't or had not previously worked with the group that Angie brought in for us. And so I connected with them after our leadership retreat to say, hey, are there opportunities for you to come in and work with our teachers, first of all? Because I think part of this is working with staff to make sure that they understand what's available. So when kids are asking questions, they can help guide. But also to get them, again, into those middle schools so that we have some opportunities for middle schoolers to recognize what's available to them. And so the group from Columbus State will be working with us in November when we have a full day of professional development for our staff. But then in the spring, they'll be coming into our middle schools and working with our middle school students just to build awareness again for that, college and career readiness.
Em, thanks for running down the cool things that are going on in the high school. You brought up middle school. Why don't you kind of highlight some things that make the Worthington Middle School experience unique?
Sure. Well, I should start by shouting out our Phoenix Middle School program was just awarded as a middle school of distinction by the AMLE. So that's the Association of Middle Level Educators. So the Middle School Association has awarded them as a school of distinction, and that's a pretty big deal. Only a couple schools in Ohio have gotten that, and so we're certainly really proud of that team. They've worked really hard, and Phoenix is a unique place and a pretty special place that we recognize in Worthington. And I think part of what we really try to do with our programming in the district is provide options and opportunities, and so Phoenix definitely does that at our middle school level. Other experiences I think that make our middle schools pretty unique. Right now it's fall. We're getting ready to kick off sixth grade camp. And so we see that as a real opportunity to engage all of our sixth graders and try to kind of build that climate and culture with our middle schoolers when they walk in the door and have that team building experience in the fall. It's not a small effort. Our middle schools work really hard. It's 200 something kids for each middle school that they take to camp. And so there are a lot of logistics that go along with that. For some kids, it's really their first overnight experience, believe it or not. For a lot of kids, it's their first outdoor type experience. And so we really work to make it as special as possible and kick off our middle school that way. And then I think that just helps us build that culture of community within our middle schools, which is really a hallmark of middle school in general, but certainly middle school in Worthington. We moved our sixth grade into middle school 4 or 5 years ago, and I know that was a community conversation, and I feel like we've really embraced that as a community, and our middle schools have embraced it, and so that involved a lot of moving parts, reopening Perry Middle School and moving staff to accommodate that, and people leaving elementaries after many years to go to the middle school. And yet when you walk into those middle schools, you would never know that this was relatively new. You would think that sixth grade was always there, and they've really wrapped their arms around that sixth grade and all three grades really, but I think they work really well to make middle school a really unique and fun experience. And so when you walk into our middle schools, they've got a lot of different things going on. If you go on different Friday nights, they might be having I think they call them canteens. I don't know if they still call them that, but they've got the little middle school, evening experience for kids where they offer different activities and try to keep kids engaged. We, of course, have multiple sports at our middle schools. We have theater at our middle schools. So we have a lot of different programming that we're really, really proud of and things that we offer to our students, obviously curricularly, but also from an extracurricular standpoint.
One aspect of it, serving Thomas Worthington
Sure.
As an assistant principal. Talk to us about some success stories at Thomas Worthington or some of your experiences that you remember the most.
I feel like one of the things that I learned maybe a couple schools ago, so maybe before Thomas Worthington,
Sure.
but was just trying to connect with people. And part of that was from being in smaller schools, and part of that was honestly just the people you work with and work for and how they shape who you are. So even something as maybe mundane as how I set up my office was something I learned from someone where I never wanted a barrier between me and another person. So I don't have a desk where I sit behind something, which I kind of get made fun of maybe a little bit for here. When I went to work at Thomas Worthington, I had a massive desk in my office, and my assistant came in, I think it was my second day of work, and I was literally on the floor with a screwdriver, unscrewing a huge swing arm kind of thing on my desk, removing it, and she was looking at me like I was crazy. But I said, I don't want this much furniture in here. I don't want there to be big barriers between me and people walking in the door.
You also have a nice display of snacks when you walk in your office.
I even have that here
actually
at
pretty impressive.
Here at the
I might have
Worthington Education
might have
Center,
grabbed a couple.
I think I show my love through feeding people, hence the brownies here today, the food in my office. But one of the things I learned early on many moons ago was that if it's a comfortable and welcoming space, kids will come in. And so I always wanted to make sure that any kid felt welcome, any kid felt like they could come in. And if you provide food, most kids will come in. And so I always had a big basket of snacks. I still have it in my office. It still gets people in my office today, which is kind of nice because at the district office, you don't always have the ability to have people in and out of your office. So it's kind of nice to have people stop in, even if it's just to grab a quick snack. But it was always a good way to get kids in my office, to let them feel comfortable, to feel like they could come to me if they needed something. And then it builds a bridge and helps you build a relationship with kids so that when you have to have some of those harder conversations with them, you've got that pre-existing relationship and can sit down and have an honest conversation with the kid. And so, when you ask about a success story, I can think of a kid who, it's actually a kid from another building, but a kid that I had to deal with some pretty significant discipline with, and it was pretty rough. And one of the things I did was work with one of my other assistant principals and ask them if they would deal with the kind of lower level discipline stuff, so tardiness or things, so that when we got to the heavy hitter stuff, I was dealing with that. But I worked to build the relationship with that student so that we could still maintain a relationship. He wasn't seeing me every single day. And that way there could be some positive between the two of us so that when we had to have those more difficult conversations, it was there. I was really lucky when he graduated from college. He actually sent me his college graduation announcement and a picture and wrote me a really nice letter about just, I appreciated the work you put in. And you don't hear that a lot. And we don't do that for that reason. I didn't ever go into education for that, but it certainly is a really amazing thing when a kid comes back and says, you've made a difference.
Cool. You have a cool and unique story, and that is you were a student here. You are clearly a positive leader, but you also had your own children go through the Worthington Schools. So talk with us about your kiddos, but also how that shaped the way you approach your job.
Sure. So, like I said, I'm a K-12 graduate, and we talked about me working in other districts. I never wanted to live anywhere but here because I love this community and really wanted my kids to experience what I experienced. I value the different things that Worthington offers and affords kids and families. And so my kids are both K-12 graduates. I can't believe I say that they're both graduates. That kind of makes me feel old and sad, but they're both out of the house at this point. My daughter graduated from college in the spring. She's living in Cleveland and working. And my son is a sophomore at the University of Dayton. And so, when you talk about that shaping my experience here, it absolutely has, just because when you're watching your own kids go through, my daughter was a school hater, which is so hard as an educator.
A school hater.
I know, isn't that terrible? But as I don't understand that mindset, right? Like, I love school and I went bounding out the door every day. She really did not love school. And I didn't understand that. And so it really opened my eyes to how other kids see school and how you've got to work with kids and help make school positive. And she graduated and she loved school and ended up majoring in education. So obviously from a full circle standpoint, I think we're doing okay. But initially she did not love school. And that certainly shapes how you, how I as an educator approach other kids, because you have to recognize not every kid walks in the door loving the thing that you do every day. And so, trying to help them feel welcome, trying to help them feel safe, I recognize is really important. And I certainly took that away from my daughter. From my son, totally different. Like, he's a lot more like me. So he went bebopping out the door every day, happy as a lark. And my neighbor actually even commented about him and said to me, she said, I watch Graham walk out to the bus every day and he's so happy. I'm like, yeah, he is. And he just, God love him. He loved school and school was easy for him. But part of that is also a different mindset of how do we keep him engaged and how do we make sure he's appropriately challenged and, make sure we're doing the things we need to do as parents. And so it's interesting to have obviously two different kids with two different experiences, and it does definitely shape how I look at kids, how I look at parents, how I work with families. So yeah, the other interesting thing I would say, I just thought about here is when I started working in Worthington, the HR director was a gentleman named Joe Borst, and he opened our initial staff meeting with this story that I've never forgotten, where he was talking about his job as a young administrator. He had done discipline, and he was, he had this family, and he was calling them constantly. And he calls this mother over and over and over again, and he's memorized her phone number, and one kid after the other, and he says, he calls mom and tells her to come in. They've got a problem again with one of the kids, and she comes in, and he's kind of wringing his hands, and she says, "He's the best we've got." And you sit there, and Joe said, "Parents are sending you their very best every day. Don't ever forget that." And I've never forgotten that. It's always been absolutely in my heart to remember that parents are doing their best. They're sending you their best. They're giving us their best. We don't always see eye to eye, but I think it's really shaped who I am. Like, you'll never hear me say, the apple doesn't fall far, unless I'm talking about my own two kids, and then that's absolutely the truth. But I don't like that saying, because I think it's more negative than it should be. And
Sure.
I want to make sure that when we're working with families, it's a partnership, and our parents see us as a partner, not as an adversary. And then, that's how I hope that I work with parents and then with kids.
This is really the whole purpose of the podcast.
I don't know about the
but
whole
are you
purpose,
ready?
but it is pretty, like
Jeff,
95%
it is. 90.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll see.
90.
I hope I can answer your questions, Mr.
All right, are you ready?
I'm nervous.
All right, rapid fire is
As
ready.
a longtime listener, the single rule is you can ask to pass, but the answer is always no. We will wait you out uncomfortably. Would you rather always talk in rhymes or sing instead of speak?
Sing instead of speak.
Oh.
I sang at weddings for a time.
Oh.
I know. Hidden talents. Not really.
Regina, the wedding singer. What's the most ridiculous fashion trend you've ever tried?
Leg warmers. It was the
Oh,
80s,
that was
man.
bad.
We all wore leg
And
warmers.
you had leg warmers, be honest.
I did have leg warmers.
Oh my gosh, we wore them at Brookside
you put your
Elementary
collar
School.
up, you
Yes.
pegged your pants,
Yes. I peg
all
my
of
pants.
those.
You put leg warmers
Yeah.
over jeans. I mean, I think about that.
Okay,
like,
but jeans, what was your favorite jean?
Jordache.
I had these Lee jeans that were pleated pinstripe
you
Lee
remember them
jeans.
well.
Yes, that was a very big thing. Gold Circle. We got them at Gold
Oh,
Circle.
I remember
Gold
Gold
Circle.
Circle.
Yeah, the Target of the
They
80s.
had really good popcorn there. I don't know why I remember that, but the Gold Circle,
don't
you'd
remember
walk
a
in
Gold
and
Circle popcorn.
They had, yeah.
absolutely.
And I don't
It
wanna
would
say
just
anything,
the smell
but-
would smack you.
My Cabbage Patch doll was from Gold Circle.
Oh, that was-
Len Stew. Baby Len Stew. That was his name. I know.
No Regina in there?
There was no Regina, and I did not change his name either. You're
All right, ice cream in a cone or a cup?
Cone.
Since we're talking about ice cream, what is your favorite ice cream and from where?
Okay, so first of all, I eat ice cream way more than I should. Way more. I love Dairy Queen, just vanilla soft serve. I am a vanilla when it comes to certain things. However, if I want ice cream at home, believe it or not, I get Haagen-Dazs chocolate with peanut butter.
Oh, that's a good combo.
But I don't ever get, at home I don't put it in a cup or anything. I just eat it out of a container.
I just want to say vanilla.
Yeah.
No, but I feel like,
Dairy Queen, sometimes the crunch coat. Like that weird
crunch coat is
peanut
legit.
stuff that I don't even know what it is, but it's
Yes.
it's
Sugar.
terrible for you.
Yes.
Yes, it's sugar and sprinkles.
So now that you have acknowledged to our listeners that you can sing, what is your go-to karaoke song?
We Belong. Pat Benatar.
That is a good song.
It is a great song.
That is a really good song.
It's a great song.
Since you're a baker, what's your spirit animal, but it can only be a kitchen appliance?
Since you're a baker, what's your spirit animal? I don't even know what the connection is to that, Jeff.
So what kitchen appliance would you recognize?
The KitchenAid mixer. It's a utilitarian type of appliance. I mean, you can put every attachment on it. It does everything. It resolves all your problems. It's an all-purpose machine.
All right, this is the build up to the best question, or I shouldn't say best question, most important question, and that is, what is the greatest cereal of all time?
Captain Crunch. Just the
interesting.
OG.
The OG.
Yeah, I don't want those crunch berries and I don't want peanut butter, even though I love peanut butter. I don't want peanut butter flavored things. And as kids, we were, of course, never allowed to have that. There was a lot of shredded wheat in my house. Captain Crunch. For my birthday, my kids get me Captain Crunch every year. For their birthdays, I buy them Captain Crunch. It's the dumbest thing, but it's like a special
Ange is a big fan of Captain
I
Crunch.
am a big
That is
fan.
the
And
best.
I'm just thinking Captain Crunch, vanilla. I mean,
We're the same.
Emily's got it going on over there.
Remind me, who is your boss?
That would be
Listen,
Ms.
I asked the
Angie
questions
Adrian.
here.
Thank you.
Em, thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yes,
having me.
Emily, in all seriousness, thanks for the work that you do in Worthington Schools and the people that you serve. You know, you get to work with and lead our principal team at the secondary level. And in their roles, they make, a zillion decisions from the morning they get in and sometimes on the weekends and in the evenings. And you are a big part of that. And what I appreciate about you most is that you prioritize the people that you get to work with. A decision can be made, but it's less about the decision and more about taking care of your principals and taking care of the people that you work with. So thank you so much for your service. Appreciate all that you do and love working alongside of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Worth the Journey. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and maybe even learned something new about the people and stories that make Worthington Schools so special. If you like this episode, don't stop here. Subscribe and join us next time. You can find Worth the Journey on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, or on our Worthington Schools website. A big shout out to Corey Carter and our communications team for bringing this podcast to life. And of course, to our students from The Ohio State University who inspired us with this idea. And remember, every journey may not always be easy, but in Worthington Schools, it's always worth it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of our community. And we can't wait to have you back on our next episode.